Welcome, welcome, welcome. Here we are. It is the early December 2018. A couple of weeks have passed since Season 3 of Cascadia fucking Tecmo. And I've been recapping each week on techmobowl.org. And after the midway point, it's a 10-week season. Wanted to do a little bit of a deep dive on the ROM. Go ahead and show off to people who haven't been able to make it out a little something we've been dealing with. Yep. Laundry's done. The timing. Alright. The 2018 regular season. Honestly, this is our second season of 2018. The schedule got kind of weird. Well, no, that looks... Oh, you know what? I haven't... Yeah. There we go. Much better. So we'll look at these again a little deeper in a second. Do some introductions. So, this season we played all on console, but we used EverDrives, where we were able to hack our ROM to move players from the original Tecmo Super Bowl around in their position groups, of which we drafted using a salary cap spreadsheet. And it was just, all quarterbacks, all running backs, wide receivers and tight ends together, and the rest you figure out. We have 4 divisions. The conferences are Lewis and Clark. And the divisions in the Lewis Conference, we got Mount Baker and Mount Rainier. In the Clark Conference, we got Mount Hood and Mount St. Helens. If we ever expand or have, get bigger, we've got room for a Mount Adams in the Lewis Conference and a Glacier Peak in the Clark Conference. Yeah. Wait till we see what that looks like. Alright, so team introductions. This is the Mount Baker division. Couldn't get that to change easily from where it says Eastern. I was just going to put Baker, but there's a little too much borrowing of pointers and letters and stuff for me to do that without having to get too deep. So anyways, Dallas Cowboys up there at 4-1. That's my team. Opened up the season with a loss to Randy's Oilers, and then was able to shoot out 4 in a row. Kansas City Chiefs at 3-2 there. That's the Mad Manio himself, Manio 720. And Phoenix Cardinals there at 3-2 also. That's the tailback king, Rudy. Everybody had a winning record halfway through in our division. In the other Lewis Conference division, Mount Rainier, we had the Cincinnati Bengals with Tick, and the New Orleans Saints, led by Chalky White. And, point differentials there. They both got to beat up on somebody to have that kind of point differential while being 2-3. We'll see who that somebody is. Speaking of that somebody, I think they did both get to play Buffalo in the first half of the season. The Clark Conference, Mount Hood, we have the Houston Oilers, the one and only Fairfield. Call me Fairf, if you will. Fairf and cheating on the board, if you double will. And the Giants there, that's Joey B. Buffalo was manned up by Ducks, who came in for James Brooks when James Brooks made it to a postseason soccer tournament. Good on you, James Brooks. And that's an easy choice. You make the playoffs. You play in the playoffs. So, thanks to, in the next division, Pete Terry at Denver with the Broncos for making sure Ducks came along. And Ducks is from, I believe, oh, shit. Oh, that's happening. I believe it's from Netherlands, not 100% sure. Somewhere in northern Scandinavia area. And Chicago, the 1-5-0 team, that was Stu. Boogie was Stu. The Bears, 85-35. Well, they were beating people 17-7 on average. And yeah, so those are our divisions. And the way the playoffs worked was I was going to have each division leader or champion, and we just would go by, if there was a tiebreaker like here, it would be Tick. Just go by what Tecmo goes by, because that's how you would get in the bracket, and that's point differential. And then of the rest of the teams, where I was going to have the top team in the conference have a bye. So in this case, I would have a bye at 4-1, and then Tick there would be in as the division winner, number 2, and they would play versus the next best record, which would be Manuel's Chiefs there at 3-2. So they would play a home game for Tick, and then the winner of that would play me. And then in the Clark Conference, we had Randy at 2-3, Joey at 2-3, but Randy with the point differential would get the nod there, and Stu would get actually the bye at 5-0, and the second place would be, let's see, in this case, Pete Terry has 23 point differential, and Joey B has a big negative. That's a very good question, though, for future, like, for me to be. I mean, if it had happened this season, I would have just gone with a coin toss if there was a tie there. So, those are teams and divisions. And let's do a little deep dive on the teams. After 5 weeks, so my team, I had the Steelers quarterbacks, Bubby Brister. He was an average by this time. Threw a pick in the very first series of the season. Tried to go for the burner, and instead of going past the receiver, decided to, let's come back. Let's do a comeback for the ball, where the defense is, and his 25 PC. Yuck. And then Rick Strom got some time, and Rick Strom was balling when he did get in. I mean, it seemed like all he threw were touchdowns, but no, he only threw 2 touchdowns. 36.3 average per attempt. Not too shabby. Roger Craig, about 300 all-purpose yards and 6 touchdowns. Rathman, injured, did get a kick return for a touchdown. That was on the final play of week 1 when I was getting crushed by Randy. Cut the deficit from 20 to 13 for point differential purposes. And I mean, if you consider all that, that's 500 and about 530 all-purpose yards. Pretty legit. 3 touchdowns. Next to Carter, not much yet. Harry Sidney, an excellent. So obviously he was starting. Over 250 and 3 touchdowns. Mervin, minimal. Willie Galt, keeping him honest. Tim Brown with the 50-yard touchdown. Ethan Horton, an excellent. That's a game changer. Not dialed up. I had the so obviously I had the Raiders receivers with San Francisco's running backs. Ooh, Irv with the hanky panky. And Jackie Slater. So with the Rams, 44 MS right tackle, O-line 5. That's going to be a good returner. Perfect for Eddie Murray. He did win the Cowboys the Super Bowl one year. Michael Kanan, Western Washington University's finest, former Atlanta Falcon. Punting, something I usually don't do when involved with Tecmo. Anyways, and then, defense, let's see. Lamas isn't good. Saliamua, thought he'd get a little more play. Smith with a sack. LT with 1 sack. I think both of those were in the week 1. Pepper and good. Gary Reason's in bad. Still with a couple sacks and a pick. Carl Banks an excellent. That's a weapon. And at the Cleveland Browns DBs. Claiborne with a pick. I know Thane Gash got one. Yep. Look at that, 29 yards. Remember that. Phoenix Cat and bad. He got jobbed. This guy was a stud. So was Minifield. Alright. Next up we have Manuel's team. Brief look at Manuel's starters. He had Denver quarterbacks, Lions running backs, and the Steelers receivers and tight ends. John Elway, an excellent. That's got to be fun. 88-44 quarterback with 38 MS wheels. It's legit. He was an excellent. Only 2 touchdowns. He did not register, even with 349 yards. Did not register on the leaderboard, which we'll see in a little bit. Counting for 3 touchdowns. This is a running team. No 2 touchdowns for Gary Kubiak, famous in CFT lore, PNW lore. Just ask the Tailback King about that. Invader Star might share with you the history as well. Look at that, Barry. Now there's some numbers. Over 1,000 yards in 5 games. So it's averaging 200 all-purpose yards a game. 17 touchdowns. That's over 3 touchdowns a game. Very legit. James Wilder with a couple touchdowns. Contributing everywhere. Except rushing. Scored a touchdown, but hasn't gotten any yards. C'est la vie. Mel Gray, more of a receiving threat. Willie Green, slick. Loose lips, not sinking ships this season. Derek Hill with the kick returns. Yuck. See, that's legit. That's a target. 44-56 with that. Hitting power. Malarkey. That catch was versus me. I remember it. Big old catch. So yeah, the Houston O-line. Real solid. And everybody in good. Wow, good or excellent. Kick Batowski. 1 block. Probably thank LT for that. 1 missed extra point. Krusty punts with a 75-yarder. A damn! 1 sack for Robert Brown. Look at that. Bob Nelson, the interception, returned for a touchdown. He also threw in a sack. Brock with a sack. Rufus. That's a weapon. Tez. The Y-Man. Terry Wooden. Everybody's in. Yeah, that's nasty. Darryl Green with 1 pick. And excellent. 88 max speed. And 56 interceptions. No thank you. May have been bad. Still a weapon. Bowles an excellent. Walton, no bueno. And then Rudy, predictably, he's got Johnny Johnson and Lonnie Young, Timmy Mack. He also has got a thing for Mike Johnson. He drafted the Giants D-line, Cleveland linebackers, and the Phoenix DBs and running backs. We got the Wade Wilson, the Cannonball Run from Minnesota with the Miami receivers and tight ends and the Hogs. This is where it all starts for him. Look at that. Ed Simmons. Jim Jensen. I don't know why he doesn't throw it to Jim Jensen. Except it's Rudy. Morton Lowry III. No misses. Leon Sandcastle. Not used yet. So Wade Wilson, 1 touchdown, 2 interceptions on 15 passes. That's, ladies and gentlemen, that's 3 passes a game attempted. Averaging about 30 yards a game passing. And he's an excellent. I mean, that's a weapon. And that's pretty putrid. Johnny Johnson, pretty impressive. 900 plus yards, 8 touchdowns in the first 5 games of the season. Visakama injured. He also had a kick return touchdown that was clutch. Game week 2, Rudy versus Fairfield. Randy nobody scored any points until the very end of the game. Randy scored a touchdown with I think 19 seconds left. Could have been less. He kicked the kickoff and Visakama returned it for a touchdown to tie it up. Rudy won the toss and got 1 deep bomb, I think to Clayton. Yep. Kicked the field goal right away. Game. Blouses. So, that's Vi. Mark Clayton. God, those are all bombs, too. Not 1 pass to Mark Duper. Or Jim Jensen. The Hogs. Pretty average. A little good. Ed Simmons. It's pretty nasty. Yeah, we looked at these guys already. On defense, 3 sacks for Dorsey. Good otherwise. Blaylock with a sack. Blaylock is the one. Look at his number, 24. He's the one anomaly at the linebacker position. He's the one defensive back in real life that's aligned as a linebacker on the game. And we kept everybody at their original alignments on the game. Clay Matthews, an excellent. Mike Johnson with the 3 sacks. Tend to notice this linebacker 3, or the left inside linebacker, as they call it, would be it's the one prone to get the most when there's pick plays. They're the ones that gets the sacks most of the time. Jay Taylor with a pick. Cedric Mack, Lonnie Young, 2 of them. Timmy Mack with 1. Okay, so that's the Mount Baker division. Staying in Lewis Conference, we've got the oh yeah, put them in order. Whew, I was like, what? Okay, we've got the Cincinnati Bengals. They got Troy Aikman. It's pretty sick numbers. 10 touchdowns, 1 interception. The Babe, not used yet. I always crack up at that's Mr. Tecmo Super Bowls, his chosen avatar out of the player faces. Say it ain't so, Ivy Joe. You got nothing. Bentley, about almost 500, 450 yards plus, 5 touchdowns. That's pretty legit. About 100 yards a game. Anthony Johnson, excellent. Nothing. Ernest Gibbons, 8 for 166. There we go. That's right. David Jeffries, not only stud receiver, also with the returns and punt returns. Drew Hill, 194, 392. Man, he really relied on Haywood Jeffries, whose name is actually spelled wrong on here. Still pronounced Jeffries, but the I and the R should be switched. Jeff looks like Jeffires. Alright, Drew Hilligan, not much. Curtis Duncan, nope. Ice Cube, nothing. We're with the Saints because of this guy. One of the 2 guys on the ROM at right tackle, that's 44 MS. Randy Marsh, perfect season thus far. And Leopold Butlers, 1 punt, 74 yards. Chalky White Saints, also 2 and 3. He's got the Boomer and Kaiser. Cincinnati's quarterbacks with the Giants running backs. I've definitely got my eyes on this tandem, especially now with the hidden stats of Rodney Hampton. I mean, my God. If you'd have seen what Rodney Hampton did to Rudy's Phoenix Cardinals. May it. And not much. Okay. Said OJ was in bad and was on the bench in favor of Rodney Hampton. I'm like, what are you doing, man? But he showed me both those touchdowns, just adding to the spanking of the tailback king. Boomer, 2 touchdowns, 4 interceptions. And then on receiving, Tim McKee, Eddie Brown, Holman, Minnesota O-line, solid. Ron Mexico, and the Octagon. Got Ray Agnew and friends. That Ray Agnew doesn't have any of the stats. He's in good. It's very usable. Very, very usable. Dwayne Bickett. Freddie Young, former Seahawk. It's Colt on this ROM. Jeff Harrod, Jeff Banks. The Miami DBs. Louis Oliver, 1 sack and 1 pick. That's it for them. Eric Gaddis wasn't bad. So, that's the Lewis Conference. In the Clark Conference, in Mount Hood, Bills selected by James Brooks with help from his pops. Went with a big-time JJ team. Don Majkowski, the Magic Man. Majkowski didn't have the greatest stats, but he had some production, and he was given not only the Rams receivers, 76-2 with 3 touchdowns, he also was given the Rams running backs. Interesting. Flipper. Damon Johnson, let's see. Lomas Brown, Ivy Salem, MCA with 1 field goal miss. Fife, solid punting job. Right, and Giants, this is Joey B's team. You got the Saints quarterbacks, 6 touchdowns, 2 interceptions for Walsh. For Cade, rough. 1 touchdown, 3 picks. Wade Wilson. Sorry. Keith Woodside. Not Wade Wilson. 220 yards, not much there. Haddix, mostly returning. Thompson. Fontenot got some play. Andre Rison, 7 touchdowns. That's legit. Thought he'd be in the mix more. Michael Haynes, one of the faster men. Giants O-line. Laces out. Perfect. It's really solid punting. And then here's here's Randy's team. You get quarterback Eagles to Jerry Rice. I mean, you can just stop right there. But no, he's also got the New England Patriots running backs. Cheapest set they're out there. Most expensive quarterback. Most expensive. No, wide receivers, maybe, most expensive. It's a toss-up, I think, between them and Houston. And, excuse me, Brian Baldinger. I love his breakdowns on Twitter. The Colts O-line, Miami D-line, Tampa Bay linebackers, Andy DBs. So he's basically got one guy on defense, Jeffy Cross. But look at that. When he's an excellent, that's no joke. That offense is as good a defense as any, too. 12 touchdowns. Averaging 200 yards passing a game. What? 2.5 touchdowns a game? Jimmy Mack sitting on the bench. Not much for Marvin. Or John Stevens. Thought he got more. George Adams. Productive. Over 200. Nothing for Mosi. John Taylor had his moments. I figured Jerry Rice. Those guys with like 760 or even like 800 something. He should have 1,000 by now. I mean, just throw it to Jerry. Sherrard with a couple touchdowns. Brent Jones with just 1. Zefrost Moss. Zinja Blast. Extra point block. Pretty sure that was LT in week 1. D Superfly. Then on defense, Jeffy Cross with 1 sack. Sean Lee and Carl Wilson. Bad. Winston Moss. Love that guy. Broderick. Eugene Daniel with a pick. That's it. And finally, we have Chicago, Stu's team, 5-0. He drafted Rippin, stole him out from under me. I was kind of planning on Rippin and then realized it. Couldn't have him. Drafts are ruthless. Not too bad from Rippin. 6 touchdowns, 3 receptions. Excuse me. Got the Miami running backs relying a lot on conditions. 1 touchdown. Ooh, lots of stats there. 3 touchdowns. Hassan Jones. There's AC. 519, 4 touchdowns. Stu built a very, very defensive team, however. It's a nice line. 2 field goal misses, but 10 of 10 with extra points for Tigger Riches and Cochise. You see better. Now this defense, the Raiders D-line, San Diego linebackers, and Fulcher. Just brutal. Figured they'd have more than just 2 sacks on the D-line. Those are both Howie Longs. Leslie O'Neal. Sayao. Wow. Barney Bussey, former USFL. 5 picks already. Pick a game for Fulcher. Alright, our last team, Pete Terry. We got Denver. He's got the Detroit Lions quarterbacks. Andre Ware, stud. Kind of like Rick Strom. 5'6", 2 touchdowns, 170 yards. Brad Muster, legit. Neil Anderson, 400 yards offense. Johnny Bailey of almost 400, over 450. 5 touchdowns. 6 touchdowns for Neil. Two touchdowns, 200 yards. Andre Reed. Feed the Reed. Metzelars. Jamie Dukes. The Atlanta O-line. That's sad too. So Mike Ken. He was dominant. He got short end of the stick there. Tommy Servo and Crow T Robot. Tim Green. Mike Gann. He was a defensive player of the week for week 4, I think. 2 of those sacks. Ken Harvey. Anthony Bell. Good. Look at that. 38 interceptions. Solid. Toy Cook. Massey with a couple picks. Atkins, an excellent. Alright, so let's do a brief look at our team rankings. Overall, Chiefs and Oilers and Bengals at the top on offense. Saints, Cowboys, and Cards at the bottom. Sorry, no, Cowboys, Cards, and Bears at the bottom. Passing, no surprise. Oilers the most, Cardinals the least. No surprise here either. Most rushing by Chiefs, Cards, and Broncos. Broncos had Neil Anderson, Johnny Bailey. Alright. We can look inside each conference too. And we're moving all over. Fourth, second to last. Clark. Oilers with the offense, passing mostly, but still 400 yards of rushing. It's not bad. Both, yeah. On defense, got Oilers, Bears, Chiefs, Saints. Yeah, Oilers and Bears tied, $9.99. Remember that. Bills not getting passed on because people will be running all over them. Defense is harder to look. Clark. Bills. All right. Man, those rushing yards against the Bills. It's kind of why I didn't really use any of those big games against Ducks. No offense, but that didn't seem like that warranted honors for performing well amongst your peers. And then the leaders. Yeah, so we got CFT, Lewis and Clark. Aikman leading the way at the halfway point. Some of these guys aren't registering. Not enough passes. Looks like, was Boomer? Was Boomer? No, Boomer's there. No Chiefs or Cardinals quarterbacks. And there's Giants. Let's see, what's the other one that's missing? Denver. The tandem of Detroit quarterbacks. Eagles, possession offense, short, choppy throws. Let's look at that one. Total attempts, Eagles, not surprising. Completions, Eagles. Almost doubled in second place, Aikman. Yards, though. So here's all the passers. Eagles over 1,000. Mikowski not far behind. Where's Aikman? Remember Aikman with the best Tecmo rating at this point. Those yards. 2. Yeah, we did. Okay. Ooh. Yards per attempt. Ooh, look at that. Brister at the bottom. $12 and 10 touchdown passes. It's about double next place with Rippon. Eagles with the Niners receivers and Aikman with the Oilers receivers. No surprise there. All right. Can't do this. We'll save that for the end of the season. We'll just do a brief. We got Ellard leading the way here. Then 3 Houston Oilers, followed by Rison and Hill. 4. Cherry Rice at the bottom there. All right. Oh, look at that. 5 catches. Okay. Most touchdowns, Rison so far, receiving. Jeffries next. AC. Yards per attempt or reception. AC, Rison, so they're chucking it. And Mel Gray. Henry Ellard. Jera. And then I'm chucking it to Rathman. Something doesn't compute. All right, rushing. Johnny Johnson leading the way, even though he's more than doubled in touchdowns running, and he more than doubled in attempts. It's a pretty sick average, 18.2 for Barry. Johnny Bailey, pretty sick as well. It's not as many touchdowns. Roger Craig. He had the one big game. Mega and Anderson. That's good to see. Alright, and then touchdowns. Barry. More than twice the next in competition. Running stuff. Alright. Let's look at scoring. So by far, most points. I've always liked this for who's having the best season in terms of scoring touchdowns. Okay, let's see. Punting. Best punter. Yeah, Krusty punts. A lot of competition there, but I'm kind of liking Michael Kanan. 70 yards on 4 attempts. Sacks we got. Not a whole lot. Picks. Fulcher with 5, Walton with 4. Those are the standouts. Hunt returns. Phoenix, I'm not surprised. Timmy Mack at DB4. And Page either with Fulcher. No touchdowns though. Alright. We didn't do kickoff returns. A couple of touchdowns there. Both in weeks 1 and week 2. Both at the very last play of regulation. Both versus Randy. It's pretty funny. How many times they returned? Alright, so you get the idea. Just wanted to show off this this ROM. We do have, this was the schedule for the day. I do not know why the first week has those teams there, although, yeah, that's just kind of mind-boggling. Something to do with the merge tool, but the rest of the schedule is right. All those 3:30 games are essentially all week 7. And some week 8. And then week 16 there's week 9. Week 17 there's week 10. So we'll do a deeper dive at the end of the regular season. So I'm going to show what this looked like after 5 games. And yeah, we'll share what we get to play with, our eye candy, on game day here in the PN Dubs. Well, thanks for checking this out. Hopefully you'll get to catch finishing up the regular season. Looking at stats, I'll probably have some time next week as I continue to recap week 6 through 10, and then the playoffs. I realized I had no audio. I tripped the microphone on that, so probably replay the playoffs with commentary, like maybe do a stream of the playoffs in the background while I do the commentary on it, and yeah, finish it off that way. We'll see. Anyways, thanks for checking it out. Hope you all have a good one. Take care.